They tried to make me go to rehab. I said no, no, no.
Amy Jade Winehouse was a British singer and songwriter. She is known for her deep, expressive contralto vocals and her eclectic mix of musical genres, including soul, rhythm and blues and jazz. A member of the National Youth Jazz Orchestra during her youth, Winehouse signed to Simon Fuller's management in 2002 and soon recorded several songs before signing a publishing deal with EMI. She also formed a working relationship with producer Salaam Remi through these record publishers. Winehouse's debut album, Frank, was released in 2003. Many of the album's songs were influenced by jazz and, apart from two covers, were co-written by Winehouse. Frank was a critical success in the UK and was nominated for the Mercury Prize. The song Stronger Than Me won her the Ivor Novello Award for Best Contemporary Song from the British Academy of Songwriters, Composers, and Authors. Winehouse released her follow-up album, Back to Black, in 2006, which went on to become an international success and one of the best-selling albums in UK history. At the 2007 Brit Awards it was nominated for British Album of the Year, and she received the award for British Female Solo Artist. The song Rehab won her a second Ivor Novello Award. At the 50th Grammy Awards in 2008, she won 5 awards, tying the then record for the most wins by a female artist in a single night and becoming the first British woman to win 5 Grammys, including 3 of the General Field Big Four Grammy Awards, Best New Artist, Record of the Year and Song of the Year, for Rehab, as well as Best Pop Vocal Album. Amy Jade Winehouse was born on September 14, 1983 at Chase Farm Hospital in Gordon Hill, Enfield, to Jewish parents. Her father, Mitchell "Mitch" Winehouse, was a window panel installer and taxi driver. Her mother, Janice Winehouse, née Seaton, was a pharmacist, who suffers from multiple sclerosis. The great-great-grandfather of Amy Harris Winehouse emigrated from Minsk, Belarus to London in 1891. She had an older brother, Alex, born 1979, and the family lived in London's Southgate area, where she attended Osage Primary School. Winehouse attended a Jewish Sunday school while she was a child. During an interview following her rise to fame, she expressed her dismissal towards the school by saying that she used to beg her father to permit her not to go and that she learned nothing about being Jewish by going anyway. In the same interview, Winehouse said she only went to a synagogue once a year on Yom Kippur out of respect. Many of Winehouse's maternal uncles were professional jazz musicians. Amy's paternal grandmother, Cynthia, was a singer and dated the English jazz saxophonist Ronnie Scott. She and Amy's parents influenced Amy's interest in jazz. Her father, Mitch, often sang Frank Sinatra songs to her, and whenever she got chastised at school, she would sing Fly Me to the Moon before going up to the headmistress to be told off. Winehouse's parents separated when she was 9, and she lived with her mother and stayed with her father and his girlfriend in Hatfield Heath, Essex, on weekends. In 1992, her grandmother Cynthia suggested that Amy attend the Susie Earnshaw Theatre School, where she went on Saturdays to further her vocal education and to learn to tap dance. She attended the school for 4 years and founded a short-lived rap group called Sweet and Sour, with Juliet Ashby, her childhood friend, before seeking full-time training at Sylvia Young Theatre School. Several years later it was reported that Winehouse had been expelled at 14 for not applying herself and also for piercing her nose, but these claims were denied by Sylvia Young. She changed schools at 15. "I've heard it said she was expelled. She wasn't. I'd never have expelled Amy." Mitch Winehouse also denied the claims. She attended the Mount School, Mill Hill and the Brit School in Selhurst, Croydon, dropping out at age 16. After toying around with her brother Alex's guitar, Winehouse bought her own when she was 14 and began writing music shortly afterwards. Soon after she began working for a living, as an entertainment journalist for the World Entertainment News Network and singing with local group the Bolsha Band. In July 2000, she became the featured female vocalist with the National Youth Jazz Orchestra. She was influenced by Sarah Vaughan and Dinah Washington, the latter of whom she was already listening to at home. Winehouse's best friend, soul singer Tyler James, sent her demo tape to an Andra person. Winehouse was signed to Simon Fuller's 19 management in 2002 and was paid £250 a week against future earnings. While being developed by the management company, Winehouse was kept as a recording industry secret, although she was a regular jazz standard singer at the Cobden Club. Her future underrepresentative at Island, Darcus Bees, heard of her by accident when the manager of the Lewinson brothers showed him some productions of his clients, which featured Winehouse as key vocalist. When he asked who the singer was, the manager told him he was not allowed to say. Having decided that he wanted to sign her, it took several months of asking around for Bees to eventually discover who the singer was. However, Winehouse had already recorded a number of songs and signed a publishing deal with EMI by this time. Incidentally, she formed a working relationship with producer Salaam Remi through these record publishers. Bees introduced Winehouse to his boss, Nick Gatfield. The Island head shared his enthusiasm in signing the young artist. Winehouse was signed to Island, as rival interest in her had started to build with representatives of EMI and Virgin starting to make moves. Bees told Hit Quarters that he felt the excitement over an artist who was an atypical pop star for the time was due to a backlash against reality TV music shows, which included audiences starved for fresh, genuine young talent. Winehouse's debut album, Frank, was released on October 20, 2003. Produced mainly by Salaam Remi, many songs were influenced by jazz and, apart from 2 covers, Winehouse co-wrote every song. The album received critical acclaim with compliments given to the cool, critical gaze in its lyrics. Winehouse's voice was compared with those of Sarah Vaughan and Macy Gray, among others. The album entered the upper reaches of the UK album chart in 2004 when it was nominated for the Brit Awards in the categories of British Female Solo Artist and British Urban Act. It went on to achieve platinum sales. Later in 2004, she and Remi won the Ivor Novello Award for Best Contemporary Song, for their first single together, Stronger Than Me. The album was also shortlisted for the 2004 Mercury Music Prize. In the same year, she performed at the Glastonbury Festival, Jazz World, the V Festival and the Montreal International Jazz Festival. After the release of the album, Winehouse commented that she was only 80% behind the album because Island Records had overruled her preferences for the songs and mixes to be included. The further singles from the album were Take the Box, In My Bed, You Sent Me Flying and Pumps, Help Yourself. After the release of her first jazz-influenced album, Winehouse's focus shifted to the girl groups of the 1950s and 1960s. Winehouse hired New York singer Sharon Jones's longtime band, the Dap Kings, to back her up in the studio and on tour. Mitch Winehouse relates in Amy, My Daughter how fascinating watching her process was, her perfectionism in the studio and how she would put what she had sung on a CD and play it in his taxi outside to know how most people would hear her music. In May 2006, Winehouse's demo tracks such as You Know I'm No Good and Rehab appeared on Mark Ronson's New York radio show on East Village Radio. These were some of the first new songs played on the radio after the release of Pumps, and both were slated to appear on her second album. The 11-track album, completed in 5 months, was produced entirely by Salaam Remi and Ronson, with the production credits being split between them. Ronson said in a 2010 interview that he liked working with Winehouse because she was blunt when she did not like his work. She in turn thought that when they first met, he was a sound engineer and that she was expecting an older man with a beard. Promotion of Back to Black soon began and, in early October 2006, Winehouse's official website was relaunched with a new layout and clips of previously unreleased songs. Back to Black was released in the UK on October 30, 2006. It went to number 1 on the UK albums chart for 2 weeks in January 2007, dropping then climbing back for several weeks in February. In the US, it entered at number 7 on the Billboard 200. It was the best-selling album in the UK of 2007, selling 1.85 million copies over the course of the year. The first single released from the album was the Ronson-produced Rehab. The song reached the top 10 in the UK and the US. Time magazine named Rehab the best song of 2007. Writer Josh Tirangel praised Winehouse for her confidence, saying, "What she is mouthy, funny, sultry, and quite possibly crazy, and it's impossible not to be seduced by her originality." Combine it with production by Mark Ronson that references 4 decades worth of soul music without once ripping it off, and you've got the best song of 2007. The album's second single and lead single in the US, You Know I'm No Good, was released in January 2007 with a remix featuring rap vocals by Ghostface Killah. It ultimately reached number 18 on the UK singles chart. The title track, Back to Black, was released in the UK in April 2007 and peaked at number 25 but was more successful across mainland Europe. Tears Dry on Their Own, Love Is a Losing Game were also released as singles, but failed to achieve the same level of success. A deluxe edition of Back to Black was also released on November 5, 2007 in the UK. The bonus disc features B-sides, rare, and live tracks, as well as Valerie. Winehouse's debut DVD I Told You I Was Trouble, live in London was released the same day in the UK and 13th of November in the US. It includes a live set recorded at London's Shepherd's Bush Empire and a 50-minute documentary charting the singer's career over the previous 4 years. Frank was released in the United States on November 20, 2007 to positive reviews. The album debuted at number 61 on the Billboard 200 chart. In addition to her own album, she collaborated with other artists on singles. Winehouse was a vocalist on the song Valerie on Ronson's solo album version. The song peaked at number 2 in the UK, upon its October single release. Valerie was nominated for a 2008 Brit Award for Best British Single. Her work with ex Sugabe Mutia Buena, B-Boy Baby, was released on December 17, 2007. It served as the fourth single from Buena's debut album, Real Girl. Winehouse was also in talks of working with Missy Elliott for her album Block Party. Winehouse promoted the release of Back to Black with headline performances in late 2006, including a Little Noise Sessions charity concert at the Union Chapel in Islington, London. On December 31, 2006, Winehouse appeared on Jools Holland's annual Hootenanny and performed a cover of Marvin Gaye's I Heard It Through the Grapevine along with Paul Weller and Holland's Rhythm and Blues Orchestra. She also performed Toots and the Maytals' Monkey Man. At his request, actor Bruce Willis introduced Winehouse before her performance of Rehab at the 2007 MTV Movie Awards in Universal City, California, on June 3, 2007. During the summer of 2007, she performed at various festivals, including Glastonbury Festival and Lollapalooza in Chicago. The rest of her tour, however, did not go as well. In November 2007, the opening night of a 17-date tour was marred by booing and walkouts at the National Indoor Arena in Birmingham. A critic for the Birmingham Mail said it was one of the saddest nights of my life. I saw a supremely talented artist reduced to tears, stumbling around the stage and, unforgivably, swearing at the audience. Other concerts ended similarly, with, for example, fans at her Hammersmith Apollo performance in London saying that she looked highly intoxicated throughout, until she announced on November 27, 2007, that her performances and public appearances were cancelled for the remainder of the year, citing her doctor's advice to take a complete rest. A statement issued by concert promoter Live Nation blamed the rigors involved in touring and the intense emotional strain that Amy has been under in recent weeks for the decision. Mitch Winehouse wrote about her nervousness before public performances in his 2012 book, Amy, My Daughter. On January 13, 2008, Back to Black held the number 1 position on the Billboard Pan-European charts for the third consecutive week. On February 10, 2008, Winehouse received 5 Grammy Awards, winning in the following categories: Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Female Pop Vocal Performance for the single Rehab, and Best Pop Vocal Album. The singer also earned a Grammy as Best New Artist, earning her an entry in the 2009 edition of the Guinness Book of Records for most Grammy Awards won by a British female act. Additionally, Back to Black was nominated for Album of the Year. Ronson's work with her won the Grammy Award for Producer of the Year, in the non-classical category. She ended her acceptance speech for Record of the Year with, "This is for London because Camden Town ain't burning down," in reference to the 2008 Camden Market fire. Performing You Know I'm No Good and Rehab via satellite from London's Riverside studios at 3 a.m. UK time, she couldn't be at the ceremony in Los Angeles as her visa approval had not been processed in time. After the Grammys, the album sales increased, catapulting Back to Black to number 2 on the US Billboard 200, after it initially peaked in the 7th position. On February 20, 2008, Winehouse performed at the 2008 Brit Awards at Earl's Court in London, performing Valerie with Mark Ronson, followed by Love Is a Losing Game. She urged the crowd to make some noise for my Blake. A special deluxe edition of Back to Black topped the UK album charts on March 2, 2008. Meanwhile, the original edition of the album was ranked at number 30 in its 68th week on the charts, while Frank charted at number 35. In Paris, she performed what was described as a well-executed 40-minute set at the opening of a Fendi boutique in early March. By 12th of March, the album had sold a total of 2,467,575 copies and 318,350 copies had been sold in the previous 10 weeks, putting the album on the UK's top 10 best-selling albums of the 21st century for the first time. On 7th of April, Back to Black was in the top position of the Pan-European charts for the 6th consecutive and 13th aggregate week. Amy Winehouse. The Girl Done Good, a documentary review, a 78-minute DVD, was released on April 14, 2008. The documentary features interviews with those who knew her at a young age, people who helped her achieve success, jazz music experts, and music and pop culture specialists. At the 2008 Ivor Novello Awards in May, Winehouse became the first ever artist to receive 2 nominations for the top award, Best Song Musically and Lyrically. She won the award for Love Is a Losing Game and was nominated for You Know I'm No Good. Rehab, a Novello winner for Best Contemporary Song in 2006, also received a 2008 nomination for Best Selling British Song. Winehouse was also nominated for a 2008 MTV Europe Award in the Act of the Year category. Although her father, manager and various members of her touring team reportedly tried to dissuade her, Winehouse performed at the Rock in Rio Lisboa festival in Portugal in May 2008. Although the set was plagued by a late arrival and problems with her voice, the crowd warmed to her. In addition to her own material, she performed 2 specials covers. Winehouse performed at Nelson Mandela's 90th birthday party concert at London's Hyde Park on June 27, 2008, and the next day at the Glastonbury Festival. On 12th of July, at the Oxygen Festival in Ireland, she performed a well-received 50-minute set which was followed the next day by a 14-song set at Tea in the Park. On 16th of August she played at the Staffordshire leg of the V Festival, and the following day played the Chelmsford leg of the festival. Organizers said that Winehouse attracted the biggest crowds of the festival. Audience reaction was reported as mixed. On 6th of September, she was Festival's Saturday headliner, where her performance was described as polished, terminated by a curfew as the show running overdue, after Winehouse started an hour late, and her storming off stage. A clip of Winehouse's music was included in the Roots and Influences area that looked at connections between different artists at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Annex NYC, which opened in December 2008. One thread started with Billie Holiday, continued with Aretha Franklin and Mary J. Blige, and then finished with Winehouse. Back to Black was the world's 7th biggest selling album of 2008. 89, the album's sales meant that the market performance of Universal Music's recorded music division did not drop to levels experienced by the overall music market. In a 2009 poll of U.S. residents conducted for Visit Britain by Harris Interactive, 1/5 of the participants indicated they had listened to Winehouse's music during the previous year. She performed with Rhythms Del Mundo on their cover of the Sam Cooke song, Cupid, for an Artists Project Earth benefit album released in July that year. Winehouse and Ronson contributed a cover of Leslie Gore's It's My Party to the Quincy Jones tribute album Q Soul Bossa Nostra, released in November 2010. She had agreed to form a group with Questlove of the Roots, but her problems obtaining a visa delayed their working together. Salaam Remi had already created some material with Winehouse as part of the project. According to The Times, Universal Music pressed her for new material in 2008, but as of 2nd of September that year she had not been near a recording studio. In late October, Winehouse's spokesman was quoted as saying that Winehouse had not been given a deadline to complete her 3rd album, for which she was learning to play drums. In May 2009, Winehouse returned to performing at a jazz festival in St. Lucia amid torrential downpours and technical difficulties. During her set, it was reported she was unsteady on her feet and had trouble remembering lyrics. She apologized to the crowd for being bored and ended the set in the middle of a song. During her stay in St. Lucia, however, she worked on new music with Remi. On 23rd of August that year, Winehouse sang with the Specials at the V Festival, on their songs You're Wondering Now and Ghost Town. Island claimed that a new album would be due for release in 2010. Island co-president Darkus B said, "I've heard a couple of song demos that have absolutely floored me." In July 2010, Winehouse was quoted as saying her next album would be released no later than January 2011, saying it's going to be very much the same as my second album, where there's a lot of jukebox stuff and songs that are just jukebox, really. Ronson, however, said at that time that he had not started to record the album. She performed Valerie with Ronson at a movie premiere but forgot some of the song's lyrics. In October, Winehouse performed a 4-song set to promote her fashion line. In December 2010, she played a 40-minute concert at a Russian oligarch's party in Moscow, with the tycoon hand selecting the songs. In January 2011, Winehouse played 5 dates in Brazil, with opening acts of Janelle Monáe and Meyer Hawthorne. The following month she cut short a performance in Dubai following booing from the audience. Winehouse was reported to be tired, distracted and tipsy during the performance. On June 18, 2011, Winehouse started her 12-leg European tour in Belgrade. Local media described her performance as a scandal and disaster. She was booed off the stage due to her apparently being too drunk to perform. Serbian Defense Minister Dragan Šutanovac called Winehouse's performances a huge shame and a disappointment. It was reported that she was unable to remember the city she was in, the lyrics of her songs or the names of the members of her band. The local press also claimed that Winehouse was forced to perform by her bodyguards, who did not allow her to leave the stage when she tried to do so. She then pulled out of performances in Istanbul and Athens, which had been scheduled for the following week. On 21st of June, it was announced that she had cancelled all shows of her tour and would be given as long as it takes to sort herself out. Winehouse's last public appearance took place at Camden's Roundhouse on July 20, 2011, when she made a surprise appearance on stage to support her goddaughter, Dionne Bromfield, who was singing Mama Said with the Wanted. Winehouse died 3 days later. Her last recording was a duet with American singer Tony Bennett for his album, Duets 2, released on September 20, 2011. Their single from the album, Body and Soul, was released on September 14, 2011 on MTV and VH1 to commemorate what would have been her 28th birthday. Winehouse was raised Jewish and expressed pride in being Jewish, although she was not religious. During one interview, Winehouse said, "Being Jewish to me is about being together as a real family. It's not about lighting candles and saying a bracha." Winehouse also frequently performed with a large Star of David medallion. In 2013, in memory of Winehouse, the Jewish Museum London ran an exhibition titled Amy Winehouse, A Family Portrait. The museum researched about her paternal great-great-grandfather's arrival from Minsk in 1890, and how the family finally settled in London, starting out in working-class jobs before gradually moving to middle-class jobs. Winehouse had 14 known tattoos, including Daddy's Girl on her left arm for her father and a pin-up girl with the name Cynthia on her right arm in memory of her Jewish grandmother. Winehouse's battles with substance abuse were the subject of much media attention. In 2005, she went through a period of drinking, heavy drug use, and weight loss. People who saw her during the end of that year and early 2006 reported a rebound that coincided with the writing of Back to Black. Her family believes that the mid-2006 death of her grandmother, who was a stabilizing influence, set her off into addiction. In August 2007, Winehouse cancelled a number of shows in the UK and Europe, citing exhaustion and ill health. She was hospitalized during this period for what was reported as an overdose of heroin, ecstasy, cocaine, ketamine and alcohol. In various interviews, she admitted to having problems with self-harm, depression, and eating disorders. Winehouse told a magazine that the drugs were to blame for her hospitalization and that "I really thought that it was over for me then." Soon afterwards, Winehouse's father commented that when he had made public statements regarding her problems, he was using the media because it seemed the only way to get through to her. In an interview with the Album Chart show on British television, Winehouse said she was manic depressive and not alcoholic, adding that sounded like an alcoholic in denial. A U.S. reporter writes that Winehouse was a victim of mental illness in a society that doesn't understand or respond to mental illness with great effectiveness. In December 2007, Winehouse's spokesman reported that the singer was in a physician-supervised program and was channeling her difficulties by writing a lot of music. The British tabloid The Sun posted a video of a woman, alleged to be Winehouse, apparently smoking crack cocaine and speaking of having taken ecstasy and Valium. Winehouse's father moved in with her, and Island Records, her record label, announced the abandonment of plans for an American promotion campaign on her behalf. In late January 2008, Winehouse reportedly entered a rehabilitation facility for a 2-week treatment program. On January 23, 2008, the video was passed on to the Metropolitan Police, who questioned her on 5 February. No charges were brought. On March 26, 2008, Winehouse's spokesman said she was doing well. Her record company reportedly believed that her recovery remained fragile. By late April 2008, her erratic behavior, including an allegation of assault, caused fear that her drug rehabilitation efforts had been unsuccessful. Winehouse's father and manager then sought to have her detained under the Mental Health Act of 1983. Her disheveled appearance during and after a scheduled club night in September 2008 prompted new rumors of a relapse. Photographers were quoted as saying she appeared to have cuts on her arms and legs. According to her physician, Winehouse quit using illegal substances in 2008. In an October 2010 interview, speaking of her decision to quit drugs, Winehouse said, "I literally woke up one day and was like, I don't want to do this anymore." However, alcohol emerged as a problem, with Winehouse abstaining for a few weeks and then lapsing into alcohol abuse. Her physician said that Winehouse was treated with Librium for alcohol withdrawal and anxiety and underwent psychological and psychiatric evaluations in 2010, but refused psychological therapy. In 2006, Winehouse admitted to punching a female fan in the face for criticizing her having taken Blake Fielder civil as a husband. She then attacked her own spouse as he attempted to calm her down, kneeing him in the crotch. In October 2007, Winehouse and Fielder Civil were arrested in Bergen, Norway, for possession of 7 grams of cannabis. The couple were later released and fined 3,850 kroner, around £350. Winehouse first appealed the fines, but later dropped the appeal. On April 26, 2008, Winehouse was cautioned after she admitted to police she slapped a 38-year-old man in the face, a common assault offense, her first of 2. She voluntarily turned herself in and was held overnight. Police said, at her arrival she was in no fit state to be interviewed. 10 days later, Winehouse was arrested on suspicion of possessing drugs after a video of her apparently smoking crack cocaine was passed to the police in January, but was released on bail a few hours later because they could not confirm, from the video, what she was smoking. The Crown Prosecution Service considered charging her, but cleared her when it could not establish that the substance in the video was a controlled drug. Some members of Parliament reacted negatively. 2 London residents were subsequently charged with conspiracy to supply cocaine and ecstasy to Winehouse. One of the pair was sentenced to 2 years in prison on December 13, 2008, while the other received a 2-year community order. On March 5, 2009, Winehouse was arrested and charged with common assault following a claim by dancer Shireen Flash that Winehouse hit her in the eye at the September 2008 Prince's Trust charity ball. Winehouse's spokesperson announced the cancellation of the singer's U.S. Coachella Festival appearance in light of the new legal issue, and Winehouse appeared in court on 17 March to enter her plea of not guilty. On 23 July, her trial began with prosecutor Lyle Thompson charging that Winehouse acted with deliberate and unjustifiable violence while appearing to be under the influence of alcohol or another substance. She testified that she did not punch Flash, but tried to push her away because she was scared of her. She cited her worry that Flash would sell her story to a tabloid, Flash's height advantage, and Flash's rude behavior. On 24 July, District Judge Timothy Workman ruled that Winehouse was not guilty, citing the facts that all but 2 of the witnesses were intoxicated at the time of the incident and that medical evidence did not show the sort of injury that often occurs when there is a forceful punch to the eye. On December 19, 2009, Winehouse was arrested for a 3rd time on charges of common assault, plus another charge of public order offense after assaulting the front-of-house manager of the Milton Keynes Theatre after he asked her to move from her seat. Winehouse pled guilty to the charges and was given a conditional discharge. Winehouse's bodyguard said that he had arrived at her residence 3 days before her death and felt she had been somewhat intoxicated. He observed moderate drinking over the next few days, and said she had been laughing, listening to music and watching TV at 2 a.m. the day of her death. At 10 a.m. BST on July 23, 2011, he observed her lying on her bed and tried unsuccessfully to rouse her. This did not raise much suspicion because she usually slept late after a night out. According to the bodyguard, shortly after 3 p.m., he checked on her again and observed her lying in the same position as before, leading to a further check, in which he concluded that she was not breathing and had no pulse. He said he called emergency services. At 3:54 p.m., 2 ambulances were called to Winehouse's home in Camden, London. Winehouse was pronounced dead at the scene, at the age of 27. Shortly afterwards, the Metropolitan Police confirmed that she had died. After her death was announced, media and camera crews appeared, as crowds gathered near Winehouse's residence to pay their respects. Forensic investigators entered the flat as police cordoned off the street outside. They recovered 1 small and 2 large bottles of vodka from her room. After her death, the singer broke her second Guinness World Record for the most songs by a woman to simultaneously appear on the UK singles chart, with 8. A coroner's inquest reached a verdict of misadventure. The report released on October 26, 2011 explained that Winehouse's blood alcohol content was 416 mg per 100 milliliters, 0.416%, at the time of her death, more than 5 times the legal drink-drive limit. According to the coroner, the unintended consequences of such potentially fatal levels was her sudden death. Romanian singers Rona Hartner, Paula Saling, Nico and Maria Radu performing at a memorial Amy Winehouse concert in Bucharest on October 23, 2011. Winehouse's record label, Universal Republic, released a statement that read in part, "We are deeply saddened at the sudden loss of such a gifted musician, artist and performer." Many musical artists have since paid tribute to Winehouse including U2, M.I.A., Lady Gaga, Marianne Faithfull, Bruno Mars, Nicki Minaj, Keisha Buchanan, Rihanna, George Michael, Adele, Kelly Clarkson, Courtney Love, and the punk rock band Green Day, who wrote a song in her tribute titled Amy. In her 2012 album Banga, singer Patti Smith released This Is the Girl, written as an homage to Winehouse. Mark Ronson dedicated his UK #1 album Uptown Special to Winehouse, stating, "I'm always thinking of you and inspired by you." Winehouse did not leave a will. Her estate was inherited by her parents. Winehouse's parents set up the Amy Winehouse Foundation to prevent harm from drug misuse among young people. Her brother Alex is an employee. On December 17, 2012, British authorities reopened the probe into Winehouse's death. On January 8, 2013, a second inquest confirmed that Winehouse died of accidental alcohol poisoning. In a June 2013 interview, Alex Winehouse revealed his belief that his sister's eating disorder, and the consequent physical weakness, was the primary cause of her death. She suffered from bulimia very badly. That's not, like, a revelation, you knew just by looking at her. She would have died eventually, the way she was going, but what really killed her was the bulimia. I think that it left her weaker and more susceptible. Had she not had an eating disorder, she would have been physically stronger. Winehouse was plagued by drug and alcohol addiction. She died of alcohol poisoning on July 23, 2011, at the age of 27. After her death, Back to Black temporarily became the UK's best-selling album of the 21st century. VH1 ranked Winehouse 26th on their list of the 100 greatest women in music. Family and friends attended Winehouse's private funeral on July 26, 2011 at Edgwarebury Lane Cemetery in North London. Her mother and father, Janice and Mitch Winehouse, close friends Nick Grimshaw and Kelly Osbourne, producer Mark Ronson, goddaughter Dionne Bromfield and her boyfriend Reg Travis were among those in attendance at the private service led by Rabbi Frank Hellner. Her father delivered the eulogy, saying, "Good night, my angel, sleep tight. Mommy and Daddy love you ever so much." Carole King's So Far Away closed the service with mourners singing along. She was later cremated at Golders Green Crematorium. The family planned to sit a 2-day Shiva. On September 16, 2012, Winehouse's ashes were buried alongside her grandmother's, Cynthia Levy at Edgwareberry Lane Cemetery.